Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for our second show of the week. Who says being out of Europe means it's quiet? I tell you, what a week we've had as Spurs fans. It never ceases to amaze us here. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening to the show for the first time, where have you been? We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on X. We're on Threads, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Wherever you need to find us, we are always there. So again, thank you so much for all your incredible support. Got to say, it's been a record month for us in terms of listeners and viewers. So I think we're flying the flag in Oz at the moment and Greece. So Alex, here we go to you, my man. It's happening. We're bringing them home. We're bringing them home quite literally. So like I say, thank you so much for all your incredible support for the show. We're back with another star-studded panel here on this last word on Spurs. That I want to say we're talking all things Tottenham. I'd be doing that a bit of a disservice. We are going to talk about Jurgen Klopp, unfortunately. The Liverpool tears keep on rolling. And as we've seen, they are still non-stop 3-4 days on. And of course, for Tottenham Hotspur, the next challenge ahead of us is Luton away. I think one that still was fans. You're not Spurs if you don't think Tottenham could still F this up. Let's be honest about it. So it is a big week in store. It is a big weekend in store where Spurs could go top of the Premier League momentarily, but it's a big weekend in store. I'm going to bring in our star-studded panel tonight. We're going to give you a quick intro. Hello, Mr. McQueen is in the house. Lee, how are you, bud? You okay?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry, I unmuted my mic and then you unmuted me back.
I didn't try to shut you up.
Glad to be back. Obviously, I missed the show at the weekend because I was at the stadium, which was absolutely magnificent. Another unbelievable finish to the game. Proper limbs. I had a picture of come a family end up getting a ticket. I think I've lost you. So just as the limbs were going off, right, in the stadium, somebody punched me in the face. They probably did it on purpose, right? Because it was me. They wanted to smash me. They didn't, right? It was limbs. I got punched in the face, proper uppercut style. My nose was like massive. I was like, my hair's everywhere. There's limbs all going off. I was thinking, what is it? And Christina's like taking pictures of me and putting it on her Instagram. I'm like, mate, that needs to be deleted. But no, I mean, all fun and affair, mate. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, fantastic end to the game, which I'm sure we'll get into. And obviously look forward to more limbs at Luton Town.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed for those that are lucky enough to be there. Joining Lee tonight, I'd like to have her back on the show. I say it's been a while, bless her. She's come through every year and there can be at Spurs so far. We've got wonderful Holly Clemens back on Last One Spurs. Holes, love to see you back. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me back on again, guys. Yeah, I don't know, maybe if I'm the drama magnet, but maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe it follows me wherever I go. No, but obviously this time the drama has gone in our favour. So at least there's that. But I'm sure we will move on to that shortly.
Absolutely, Hull. You do seem to be on the back of breaking news at the moment with Tottenham. Not all positive, of course. Last time he was on Spurs, we're in the process of selling their... I was going to say number 9. He wasn't on number 9. He was number 10. But obviously someone else is wearing that number 10 ever so well.
You're forgetting about him already.
Oh, what can I say? Not deliberate, of course. Not deliberate. Love to have you back on Holes. Joining Holes tonight. A man that's been on under some desperate, torrid times on Last One on Spurs. But he's back with a smile under yet another new era. I think I've said that 3 or 4 times. And again, that just shows you how much it transitions at Tottenham and changes. You've got the wonderful Leon Emiralli back. Leon, how are you, mate?
I'm very well, Ricky. It's nice to be back in positive times because yes, we have been through some difficult times. The few times I've been on this podcast before, I think we had defeats to Burnley, Conte ball, Stellini ball, Mourinho, and now finally it's looking up. Isn't it great to be here when everything's positive?
Absolutely. It's funny. Everyone wants to come in here when it's not a crisis. You can't find anyone when it is a crisis. So that is the nature of Tottenham. That's what it is like. Make up our panel tonight. I'd like to hand out a debut on Last One on Spurs. We've got Alex, of course, formerly of course on Twitter, the runner of the Spurs Cyprus flag that we're delighted that has been reinstated in that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Al, lovely to have you on Last One on Spurs. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me. I am very excited to get my debut underway.
Bless you, mate. Listen, we're looking forward to it, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll start right at the very, very top, guys. It is some sad news that I'm bringing you, and it's obviously still quite well known now in the Spurs community that everyone at Last One on Spurs has been really saddened to hear the passing of Pete Hayne after a 10-month battle with pancreatic cancer. I think we'll all be testament to those that, you know, spoke to Pete or knew Pete that Spurs didn't very much run for his blood. Seemed to get older at White Hart Lane, of course, then transitioning through to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He served on the THSD board with distinction, I must say, and of course, so passionate and committed to doing what was right and helping others, which I have to say manifested itself in so many different ways. So our thoughts are with, of course, Pete's family right now at this very, very sad time, along with all of his family and friends. He will forever be in our thoughts. Sleep well, Pete. So I want to make that point. I say thoughts go out to him and his family. Right. On a more positive note, if I can kind of go on to this, that we had someone come into us here from the BBC that very kindly contacted us to say that there's a special, I've got to say, report that's been done where after a random blood test to check recurring headaches, Robert was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder, which I'm going to try and pronounce this, guys, and I will butcher this, so please forgive me, was called myelodysplasia with monomosomy, aged just 7 years old. Despite a year of treatment at Great Ormond Street, the doctors told Rupert's family that a stem cell transplant was his only cure of a chance of a cure. Luckily, Anthony Nolan found a donor for Rupert on the register, and he had life-saving transplant in 2016. Rupert was soon back to his old self and is now an active 15-year-old. 2 years later, when Robert turned 10, he and his family were about to meet Rupert's donor, Billy, in an emotional meeting captured in 2018. Rupert and Billy have continued a close friendship ever since then. Holly, Rupert's mum, says it's like she's gained another son. Rupert got into football a few years ago. He supports the mighty Spurs, the same team as Billy. Despite being a fan, he's never been to a game before. But this Saturday, of course, that game against Liverpool, he was taken to his first ever Spurs game. Holly, Rupert's mum, thought that his choice to support Tottenham was slightly random, but when she asked him why he'd chosen to support Tottenham, he said it was because it was the team Billy supported. So going to the game together was a really, really special moment for them. And for those that are watching this right now on YouTube, we have got a clip that we can show you there, a picture that was taken from that, which was a lovely, lovely image that was taken. Billy and donors like him are part of that Anthony Nolan's League of Lifesavers. And I want to make this point, from Tottenham to York City, everyone has a football team that they are loyal to. But what if we all had that common goal in mind for a change, a goal to save more lives? It shouldn't matter who we support or where you come from, or what matters is that patients with blood cancer or blood disorder should all be given an opportunity of a second chance of life. The more people that sign up to the stem cell register and join this League of Lifesavers, the more likely patients will find the life-saving match they need. So again, all that information will be detailed in our YouTube and audio feed. So go and check that out. And there you go, guys. Thank you so much. We'll get into what's busy week of football. Now, bearing in mind, I've got to say that essentially we were all riding on a high from, of course, the weekend after beating Liverpool. And little did we know what was going to come 24, 48, 72 hours after. A dramatic Spurs win deep into added time has been overshadowed by a significant amount of VAR controversy with red cards to Curtis Jones and Diogo Jota. And as we recorded on this Wednesday, I've got to say, Jurgen Klopp has quite frankly lit the touch paper and, sent the footballing world, you've got to say, into some form of just absolute craziness by a suggestion that we've heard today that he wants the Premier League game against Tottenham to be replayed after Luis Diaz goal was wrongly disallowed by the VAR referee. Now, it's important I add that at the moment, according to the BBC, there is no prospect of the Premier League considering a replay, and it is unclear whether that actually has been a formal request from Liverpool, despite Klopp's admission in that pre-match press conference ahead of their Europa League tie. So, Lee, I'll come to you first. Do you know what? This is completely overshadowed what was a great win in the last minute. Give me your thoughts, because you was there. I know you experienced those, Liam. I know you got a smack in the mouth for your troubles as well. So, thoughts on the game, thoughts on your injury, and thoughts on what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the smack in the mouth was I'm hoping it was by accident anyway, because it's from one of my boys, I think. But, I mean, the match itself was... I thought we played better when we were against 11 men. I think it was quite a strange situation. I thought we played a lot better. Liverpool, fantastic side. They're very, very good. And I think we haven't beaten them since the 4-1 thrashing at Wembley and their sliding doors moment. So it was a huge, huge game. And we all knew it. Everybody knew it. And it was a big test for us. But I think we were better 11 versus 11. We then kind of struggled. definitely when they went down to 9 men, it was like parking a bus again, and it was like Sheffield United all over again. And I think there was some oohs and ahs and some groans around the stadium, thinking, hang on a minute, they're going to hang on, and we're not going to get the points against 9 men, and we're going to be ridiculed for it and all that stuff. But obviously, then that Porro cross, the own goal, the absolute furore that went on. I mean, I've been in some unbelievable nights at the old White Hart Lane and Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but this was absolutely banging. That South Stand, I mean, everyone's seen the pictures. The Free From Desire tune that we play at the end is an absolute banger. I mean, I'm a grown man. Like, I'm just losing the plot here. Like, it was just brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Such a good release. And for all of them times, Leon and I were talking, and Holly were talking off camera before Alex and Rick, you jumped in the green room. We were talking about all them rubbish times we've had under Stellini and Conte and all this rubbish football, and Joe saying people having a go at us for celebrating, Rick. Like, why wouldn't you be celebrating that? Like, this is the whole point of football. I've had an absolute shocking week at work. I get a release to go out with my friends, have a couple of beers, and then enjoy that, and then watch that. I mean, that what's not to love? Do you know what I mean? I thought it was a brilliant finish, and like you say, totally overshadowed now. But by two things. I said to you off air that I wasn't sure whether I should bring this up as a white guy in where I am, but I'm absolutely disgusted that the mainstream media and a lot of attention via Twitter and Instagram hasn't brought up the disgusting, vile behaviour from some accounts on Instagram for Destiny Udogie. I think it's been absolutely terrible, disgusting racial abuse. And basically, look what happens. And this is the world that we live in, guys. A bloke gets scores a goal. It should be a goal, and it is given offside. And we spend 5 days talking about VAR, and it's up in raw. We've got front page news, back page headlines, etc., etc., etc. And then a guy, just for doing his job, gets racially abused, really disgustingly racially abused as well on social media. And we get 2 statements, and then it gets swept under the carpet. And it just makes me feel sick. So I wanted to say, I wasn't sure if I should. I'm never going to know what it's like to be racially abused, and it is a difficult subject to talk about. But we should talk about it because it's a fucking disgrace, quite frankly. Sorry for the young viewers, but it is, and it shouldn't go on. So I wanted to just bring that up, and we'll bring it on to some nicer stuff, but. Destiny Udogie has been absolutely first class, in my opinion. I think he's been superb this year. He's a footballer, 20 years old, playing football, making all his dreams come true. He should not be subjected to that. And, I'm just disgusted by it. And I think that, we've all got a responsibility, whether or not you think you're influencers or not. We've all got a lot of followers, and we've all got a lot of responsibility now, and we should be calling this out, and the mainstream media should be calling it out, and it should be on the BBC and on Sky and on TNT Sports, and everywhere we look, this should be the number one headline, not VAR. VAR should be secondary, but the first one should come out as the racial abuse, and we should name and shame these people and put it to bed. It's absolutely disgusting. It's not just words; action is needed, and that's why I wanted to say something on that, Rick. So sorry, but I needed to get that out, mate.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Now I feel bad because obviously what I'm going to lead with is secondary, but
it is secondary because as a show, we've got a responsibility, and we've looked at our responsibility, and all of our viewers and listeners around the world. We're the number one podcast. Sports podcast in the UK and top 10 around the world. And now they've seen that our responsibility is that we've called that out. And, we've chosen to call it out, and now other people need to follow suit and choose to do that. Everyone has a choice. You can choose to ignore it, or you can choose to call it out. Of course, we're going to talk about VAR. Of course we are. It's massive. But racial abuse is rife, and it shouldn't go on. And just because I'm a white guy doesn't mean to say that I shouldn't call it out. And I wasn't going to, but I thought, no bollocks, I am, because I'm not having it. So that's why I've said it, guys and girls.
Yeah, listen, Hold, I'll come round to you. Been a mad week on the footballing side. Fair to say it's been a mad week. Look, as we've said, VAR has completely overshadowed a lot of the debate. I will promise you we will get into a separate debate on the actual VAR piece itself, because again, I'm sure we're all going to have our thoughts in relation to essentially the fact that Tottenham could one day have a similar incident happen to them, and we wouldn't want that. So that definitely is the case. But I do want to bring your thoughts on it, Hull, as to your feelings behind the fact Jurgen Klopp, speaking in his pre-match press conference today, has asked the question, should Tottenham Hotspur, in his opinion there, should they be given a replay for this game? What's your thoughts on that for you, Holes?
Well, it's just stupid, really, isn't it? I don't know how else I can say it. He's made himself look like a little bit of an idiot for that one. It's not the first time, probably won't be the last time he's made himself look like a bit of an idiot. But, if the shoe was on the other foot, and it has been for us many times before, and it will be time and time again, as we've already discussed, we'd be outraged. But to call for a replay, you're opening a massive can of worms there that you'll never be able to contain again, because every team has had an incident or multiple incidents of this nature. And, if then you start throwing your hands up and saying, no, we need to replay this match, then you've got to go back and replay all the matches before it where it's gone wrong as well. So I think the problem is, with the Liverpool fan base in such uproar and outrage about it, I think Klopp has recognised that their performance was actually not as he expected it to be. So rather than admitting their shortcomings and the places where Spurs did good, he has jumped on the bandwagon to get the fan base back on side and go, yes, that's my manager. Yes, that's, he's calling for it to be played again. So he's done that, I think, to kind of detract from where they were poor, could have played better, and the things that they did that were wrong. So I think he's done that almost as kind of a bit of a PR stunt to try and flip the script. But even people such as Gary Neville, who was like on the commentary completely, like, it was almost like he was ex-Liverpool. I couldn't get my head around it. He was just didn't say one good thing about it. The entire thing.
It was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, the entire
I watched it back. I was thinking, he's Man United. I thought he would be going in on them. He was properly loving them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely bonkers. But yeah, so he's saying all of that, and I think regardless of whether I'm going to bit on a tangent now, but regardless of whether or not you agree with the decisions that happened, we know that there were some errors with that game, which that were his feelings. The entirety of that game, the commentary was so biased towards Liverpool. It was almost like he was trying to prove a point that he wasn't anti-Liverpool because he's an ex-Man United player. He went too far on that side. And now he's coming out and he's saying, oh, they look stupid now for releasing a statement. And yeah, he's right, they do. But all the comments, you read the comments that the people are saying, you've changed your tune because you were so anti-Spurs, so Liverpool have been wronged and all of that. So I think he kind of needs to confirm where he's coming from there. And I've never ever been one to support VAR. I think it's ruining the game. I've always said that. But to replay, that's just the wrong decision, and it's a bit of a sham.
Leon, let me come over to you. It's, as we've said, been a bit of a crazy week. We'll come on to the audio shortly because, again, we've clipped that up and we'll get you guys' thoughts on it. Look, within that, we've got England, one of the officials saying the check is perfect before swearing when he realises he's made a mistake. I don't disagree. Again, your thoughts on it, Leon. Liverpool do deserve sympathy for being on the receiving end of what's been to date the worst VAR blunder in the Premier League, but I do think they'll fast start losing any sense of respect by formalising the point of we deserve a replay as the club's position. And I think, again, it would set almost a really wild precedent and open, as I think Holly has said there, a huge can of worms that, quite frankly, would be ridiculous by its insistence. So I'm really intrigued to know what you feel and how Klopp has come about this, and whether, in your mind, he's gone about that the right way. And as Holly said, is it there just to try and get Liverpool fans back on side that may have been disappointed by the way and the nature that game went?
Yeah, I've got to ask the question, what planet is Jurgen Klopp living on to think that he's going to get a replay of that match because there's been a dodgy refereeing decision? How many games have Spurs been part of, have all 20 other Premier League teams been part of, when they will feel aggrieved for a refereeing decision that's gone wrong? All right, it might not be as clear-cut as this one, but ultimately every team has been robbed of points at some point during their history. So I just think it's insane that Jurgen Klopp thinks Liverpool somehow are on a pedestal above everyone else and can deserve a replay. So I just think that's crazy. And I'm glad the Premier League have come out and said absolutely no chance. But I think Holly's onto something. I think he's playing a bit of a game here, Klopp. He knows he wasn't going to get a replay. He's not an idiot, or maybe he is, but I don't think he's an idiot. And I think what he's trying to do is put a bit of pressure on officials going forward, so that if there's a 50-50 or not quite sure about what way the decision should go, that officials will give it in Liverpool's favour, because they'll feel like they deserve it, and I'm sure that does go on. Referees are only human at the end of the day, as is evidently clear with this error. So I think he's gone a bit crazy, and I completely agree with the comments about Gary Neville. It was the same on Match of the Day that Saturday evening. It was all about the VAR decision, nothing about Spurs, nothing about the way we played and the way that we got the victory. So I think it's such a overhyped story. I do think it is, and VAR isn't great. I agree with Holly. Let's go back to how it was before. But I just think it's a disgrace the way that Klopp's handled himself. I think he's made a right fool of himself.
I'll bring you in. Look, I think we all were maybe the common consensus here that Liverpool do have every right to aggrieve, but the monumental error, it took place out in the 34th minute of the game. As with every club across the globe, feel that if a major call had gone against them, it was an error. And unfortunately, as we've seen in football, replays, they don't happen. So, I just wonder what your thoughts are on Klopp setting out this precedent today, and whether you've been surprised by the fact of how strong he has gone, because in a bizarre way, I've seen a lot of people say that he almost has seemed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here in terms of the way he's approached the overall subject. So, Al, can you get your thoughts as to how you feel Klopp has come across on this?
I think it's absolutely embarrassing. It really is. It's ridiculous, him trying to get a replay. When in football have you seen that? If that happened to Tottenham, would you see Ange demanding a replay? No chance in hell would he. When I first saw the goal live from in the stands, I didn't think he was offside. And to be fair, he took the goal really well as well. Really good finish. But yeah, he was onside. Romero was playing him on. And you heard the audio, and they drew the lines, and then they go check complete. And that was it. They didn't say to the ref, "Oh, check complete, he's onside, give the goal." They didn't say any of that. They just said check complete. And then the ref just went on his own accord and didn't give the goal. Then they realised he was in the wrong after, and it was too late for him to go back. They said, "You've got to stop the game." And he says, "No, I can't. It's too late." But going back to Klopp, it's absolutely embarrassing. It really is. There's been so many Liverpool fans' tears on the timeline this week, and it just won't stop going on and on. I think they made a petition as well. That's not the first time they tried doing something like that, and it couldn't have happened to a better team. It really couldn't. The amount of stuff, the amount of wrong decisions we've had against Liverpool over the years. Last season at Anfield, Jota high foot kung fu kicking, skipping the head, and he had to get stitches, and then he went on to score the winner. He shouldn't have even been on the pitch. The Champions League final, that was not a handball into 𝐂𝐾𝐧𝐭. There's way more I can go into, but I just can't go into.
You're talking about these, Alex. You're talking about these. We're going to save these, but as you're talking about them now, is anyone in their right mind think that's a handball? What's Jurgen Klopp on about here?
No.
If that's handball, then if he's getting a replay, then sure, that's got to be replayed, isn't it, Alex?
Exactly, yeah. If they want to replay this Premier League game, we can replay the Champions League final as well. That's fine by me. That's absolutely fine by me. Yeah, there's the Jota one, absolute joke. And there's been more in the past. I remember the Robertson high foot on Tanganga's leg as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming. Liverpool, they get a lot of decisions, and that's why they're called Liverpool for a reason, because they get the most VAR decisions in the Premier League, in my opinion. So I have no sympathy for the club whatsoever, or the fans, or the manager. And all I've got to say is, just keep on crying, man, and focus on your next game.
I just, I do wonder, guys, very quickly before we do bring in the VAR incidents, Lee. Does Klopp, in your opinion, Lee, have any case here for anything that he's come out with and said? Because I think he got a lot of praise at the weekend for how calm he was in the post-match presser and his interview to Sky. Because I think, look, in the moment, any manager who had suffered that decision could have, quite frankly, got a lot more stronger. And I think because of Klopp as the character, many were expecting a bit more of a backlash, given the fact that he's had a good 72 hours to sit on it, to think about it. Has it staggered you, Lee, the fact that he's taken that approach in that press conference, or is that just really the magnitude of maybe Liverpool as a football club that feel that they are within that right to demand such a decision?
If I'm honest, I think the authentic side of Klopp came out today in the press conference, and I think the fake side of Klopp was after the match, like the emotional side of how he managed to kind of, I think, in my opinion, fake out the fact that he was calm and he was, it's what it is. It was almost like there was an arrogance about it to say we're a higher power and we're going to make this is going to be something different. So I'm not going to get all Klopp over it. Whereas today's come out and the authentic Klopp, in my opinion, like obviously I don't know the guy, but the side of Klopp that you always see, that's the side that's come out today. So I would say that's the normal side of him. And to demand a replay or go for a replay, I think Holly and Leon was bang on the money earlier when they said he's now doing this knowing. I mean, I feel sorry for Brighton. Well, I don't actually, because I'm happy for them to draw against Liverpool. But Brighton's their next game. They're going to get no decisions, are they? Like, let's be honest about it. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare when anything happens now. And I think he's been clever in the authentic Klopp way to do that. So now he brings it back to the attention of the media. That's what I was saying earlier about the Destiny, abuse not being highlighted, because they've been really clever on putting this back to the top of the news agenda every single day. And he's done that today with his press conference. And every single press conference for the Premier League, in all of the manager press conferences, no matter who the manager is, going to be asked about it. What did you think about VAR? What do you think about giving it a replay? So it's going to rumble on until this weekend's games. It's going to have a whole week worth of media coverage, Rick. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's been clever, but I also think that is what he actually thought right after the game. He thought, right, what can we do to get this game replayed? And here's the weird thing about it. I mean, we are last word on Spurs. We're all Tottenham fans. We go home and away. We love our club. We're actually the innocent party in all of this, really. Like, we ain't done anything wrong, have we? We've just got on with the game, cracked on. Like, we didn't know we were trying to get on with the game quickly so they couldn't stop play. We just cracked on and we went and ended up winning the game. And I did see that. I do love social media for these aspects rather than the horrible aspects that we talked about earlier. I saw a post earlier saying, I don't know what Klopp's complaining about. They were down to 9 men and they still got a last minute winner.
Can we give Scott a rest on Saturday and play Matip up top?
Oh, please. We could do that, couldn't we? Bit of our injury crisis. Before Lee does bring the VAR clips, I want to ask Holes, Leon and Alex another question on this. Because again, I just do want to play a bit of fair balance if I can and devil's advocate here. I mean, Holes, coming over to you. I want to ask you, could common sense have prevailed and play been stopped during those 28 seconds of where we're hearing that kind of scrambling of conversation, knowing they've done a decision wrong? Do you feel in your mind, could they have gone back and restarted the game on given the goal? What do you think?
I think the minute that it was, if there was any time for the game to be stopped, it would have been the moment that poor fella went, are you sure that you've made the right decision? Yes, they would have had to have, you sure that that's the decision? Because, he was basically saying, are you blind? Like, I think even though, the game had continued, it was such a short space of time after that if there was any time they were going to admit defeat, it could have been then. And yes, everyone had gone, what are we stopping for? But they now look like even bigger idiots because they've had to release this audio and they showed that they knew that they'd made an error and they let the game continue. They look even more foolish now because it shows that they knew that they'd done wrong. So yes, everyone would have been like, what the hell? You said it was fine. But now we've heard that audio, we see that it was like a mistake, but they were too proud to rectify it there and then, and in turn they've made themselves look like idiots. So I think as well, it's just, as I say, it's a shame that it's overshadowed the game now, because this is what it's become, and it is a real shame. They could have held their hands up and gone, oh my god, no, we made the wrong thing. It's like John Travolta giving the Oscar to the wrong person again. They still gave the Oscar to the right one. He just said the wrong person's name. They ended up giving it to the right one. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's embarrassing for everyone involved, but at the time just go, oh no, sorry, we said the wrong thing. But no, instead it's now become this massive thing, and it's quite embarrassing. I think people are jumping on the bandwagon because they love to hate us. You know, I've had to delete some of my tweets because I have to remember it's a work account. I get too excited when I'm watching the games, and then people are saying to me, "Oh, come on, you're happy that you've won?" Saying a win is a win. What planet are you on? I'd be embarrassed if that was us. I'm like, it's because you love to hate us. And that's why the rest of the teams in the league have jumped on the bandwagon of Liverpool, because they hate that we are not the court jester of the season again. They hate that. They love to hate us. They hate that we're thriving and we're doing really well. So they're all jumping onto this incident. And that is what is like winding me up, because I'm just like, you just love to hate us. That's all it is. Get a new hobby.
Yeah, I mean, Leon, I got what?
Sorry, but I know you want to come back to Leon, but just quickly on that, Holly, make a good point about that. You know, people wanted to hate us and all that sort of stuff. And that integrity of the game piece that Klopp's spouting BS about. Imagine if Liverpool went on to win the game. Do you think he'd be calling for a replay now? Would he be, for the good of the game, for the integrity of the game, Jurgen, should we not be replaying that game if you'd have beaten us 3-2 or 3-1? I mean, it's just utterly preposterous that we're even talking about it, to be fair. And, you know, like I said, authentic Klopp comes out. You know, fair play to them, that tribal aspect of that he wants everything right for his club, and Liverpool fans want it for them. But don't get 2 men sent off, and you might have had a chance to win the football match, because you was playing pretty well, to be fair. You didn't lose the game because of that VAR decision. You lost the game because we played in pockets better than you, and you got 2 men sent off. That's the reality.
Leon, I've got to ask you, for a man that's in and around the media, have you been really disappointed by the way in which the fact that Spurs have had very little coverage on the fact that they did beat Liverpool for the first time in, 6 years? And the manner of the fact that, again, it's another kind of mental block Spurs have almost got over the line, and the fact that I think before this game, if anyone had said to you Spurs would have got 4 points out of a possible 6 from Liverpool and Arsenal, there would have been a real surprise. Because, again, I think pre-North London derby, I think a lot of people were saying this is now going to be the test for Tottenham under Ange. This is now where you're going to really see what they're made of. And I think the fact of the matter is, as you guys have all said now, it's been up on it as well, that that's been given very, very little coverage because this VAR situation has overshadowed it. So I'm wondering what you make of it from a mainstream media perspective, and whether, again, there is a lot more influence on certain co-commentators that have their say during the game, and whether that does almost plot and ploy into the way, as fans, viewers, audience members, we perceive the game at times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed as a fan that we aren't being spoken about more, because I want to read more and watch more about Tottenham. But I think if you're Ange, you're probably very quietly pleased about what's going on, because it takes the pressure and the spotlight off of Spurs. They're going into the Luton game, you know, with a fairly clear head, let's be honest, because as Lee says, we're the victims here, nothing to do with us. So we're going in there without pressure on us, without this sort of media narrative about how great we are, you know, although we all will buy into it. So I think it's helping them keep level-headed. So yeah, I think Andrew will probably use it to his advantage because he's so smart with the man management side of things, and I think he'll be able to use that. So I'm not terribly I'm not terribly sort of disappointed from that point of view. But I do think it's right that we're having a conversation about VAR, because this could have happened to Spurs. It probably will happen to Spurs at some point in the future. VAR isn't perfect, and I don't understand why we aren't using the 2018 World Cup version of VAR, where it's sort of done by a computer and it's so obvious. And you could hear it in that audio with the people in that room. They were obviously being rushed because that's the directive that's come from above to get it done quickly. You could hear it in their voices that they were rushing it out. And, you know, that's clearly gone wrong for them. That's not the way that it should be conducted. So look, it was a shocking decision. There's no doubt about it. But the fact that it's just dominated everything, I think, is overblown. I do think that I hope the Premier League and PGMOL or whatever they call themselves, they should be looking at this and thinking, how can we improve and how can we ensure this doesn't happen again? So if that's what comes of all this furore that Klopp's building up about it, then I guess that's a good thing. But I think from Spurs' point of view, we've kept our conscience clear, we've kept our heads clear, we've kept out of the spotlight, exactly the right thing to do, and they move on and they hopefully get 3 points at the weekend. So, you know, it's not all bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Al, to bring you in, I just wonder, as Leon says there, the attention has been off us to some degree because of what's been overshadowed from the VAR incident itself. Are we, in your opinion, now still under that radar, or are you concerned that maybe now, because of the fact of the form and Ange and I've got to say, a real good feel-good factor around the football club at the moment. That fans of other clubs are starting to notice what Spurs are doing on the back of those, let's say, results against Arsenal, Liverpool, 4 out of a possible 6. Tottenham potentially could go top at the weekend. Where are we in your mind now in terms of that radar at the moment?
I don't think teams or refs will look at us differently when it comes across decisions like that. It was nothing to do with us, we was minding our own business, and the VAR team or the ref got it wrong, you know what I mean? But this is probably a good thing that this happened, because going forward for decisions now, they're going to take their time a lot more and get things hopefully spot on now. So it's probably a good thing that this has happened, It could be beneficial for the other teams in the Premier League, that something like this should probably not happen again, So they'll take their time a lot more before they think about if they're going to give the goal or not. And the feel-good factor at Spurs is so good right now, I've not felt this good in a long time going to Spurs. I stay after the game with my friends and go to the pubs on the high road and carry on drinking. Back in, a few seasons ago, I couldn't wait to leave the 𝐂𝐤𝐻𝐿, I can't wait to, I don't want to go home. It's lovely, we're unbeaten. Long may it continue. Also, can't get too ahead of ourselves, it's very early, we are a few injuries away from, our season getting disrupted. Solomon picked up an injury today. That's another winger out. Brennan Johnson just got injured after the Arsenal game. Perisic done his ACL, and now Solomon. So we've just lost 3 wingers. Good job. Hill was coming back, so then we're left with 2. But still, it's not good, We're lucky that our attack is not too bad. But if you get an injury to, say, Bissouma or Maddison or Romero or Dogi, we could struggle, We're one injury away from Dogi and Van der Ven to see Davies at left centre-back or left-back. We're one injury away from Romero to seeing Dyer or Ashley Phillips, who might not be ready yet. So we do have to be careful, Can't be too ahead of ourselves saying, we're going to win the league, but could we? But no, you gotta be serious. But it's Tottenham at the end of the day. We've not won a trophy in a long time for a reason. But I think Ange could be the right man to change that. I think it feels the same way we were playing under Pochettino. That feel-good factor, attacking football, high pressing football. And I think Ange could do one better than Poch and bring us a trophy, whether it's this season or next season or the following season. I think he is the right man to do that. And Levy really needs to back him, because there could be something special here, Big Ange is cooking. He's cooking the suvla, he's cooking the bastuma, the shiftaya, the shrimp on the barbie. Give Big Angelos what he wants, mate, because he could do something special at this club, and I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, Joe, you make good points. I mean, I think the thing for me is, I'll be honest with you, my worry is, again, I think we saw at the weekend that the drop-off from those first-team players, when you see the likes of Maddison, Son come off, so then obviously what's coming off from the bench at the moment, that's my worry. I think you look at the fact, I think for me, we've got a good 13, 14, 15 players, a good core there, but as you've rightly said there, an injury to some of those players that we spoke about, the Romeros, the Van der Vens, the Maddisons, the Sons, my worry is that you look at that bench, is it adequate enough? And that's why, for me, I'm really hoping we battle ourselves way to January now. I think we've got 14, 15 games to battle through. It is, of course, just 1 game a week, where, fingers crossed, look, we can ride that wave. And in January, if we're still in this position, please God, and we can obviously enhance the squad. Spurs have got a really good opportunity this season. I'm the same as you. I don't want to get carried away because Spurs have had fairly decent starts in the last couple of years. But the fact we're all still smiling and we're in October says things are going fairly well at the moment.
We actually scored more goals this time last year after 7 Premier League games under Conte ball than we did than we have under Ange ball. I mean, you couldn't make it up. We actually scored more goals. Only 1, but we did score more. I just need to share this with you. I feel like I've got a few funny stories tonight. So here's another little one, especially for the people that don't support Tottenham. When I mentioned the Tottenham title winning, as Alex did about 2 minutes ago. But I got a text from a really good friend of mine, who's a Newcastle fan. They're winning 3-0, by the way, in the Champions League tonight versus PSG, mate. They're absolutely smashing them. And before the game started, he was talking about how good it is to be back in the Champions League. 20 years since they've been in the Champions League last time around, that sort of stuff. And I was having a chat with him on WhatsApp. And he said to me, Macca, don't worry, you'll be back in the Champions League next year as champions. And I've never spoken to him about it before. And I went, what? Kitch, you reckon are you being serious? He went, yeah, definitely. He said, we all think that you're going to win the league. And I was like, what? And so there's other fans that are seriously talking about it, and they won't want to say it, and we don't want to say it out loud. And Josh, by the way, right now watching this, is going absolutely mad. He is thinking, what are you saying here? But if, like all the things you just said, Alex and Ricky as well, we are an injury and a suspension away from Dyer and Davis at the back, right? So let's not get too carried away. But equally, if we can keep the right players fit, the lack of European football that we've got what 13, 14 games, did you say, Rick, until coming up in January. Let's see how we go. We just navigated United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. And we're still unbeaten. I mean, I am. People keep saying don't get carried away. Why not? Why shouldn't I? I pay my money every week. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a go at it. I tell you, that's what's happening with team last one on Spurs. I'm Team McQueen, mate. I'm in. I'm all in for it, mate.
It's exactly what Ange said. He said, let them get ahead of themselves. Let them get happy, because we've not felt this way in a long time. He says, let them believe that we can do the unthinkable.
As long as the players aren't thinking that way, we can think what we want, right? I mean, as long as the players aren't getting over themselves, then I think it's a really good spot.
Leon, they rock up at Kenilworth Road thinking, this is easy, mate. We've won the title.
That's the problem.
That is the mentality that worries me. This is exactly the mentality that worries me. That's what worries me. I mean, Holes, they're rubbing your energy off, right? This is how you've been feeling for years. You've been terrified to say it, and now it's all kicking off.
No, listen, I've not been terrified to say it. I've been saying it. I've just been getting bullied for it. So all those years of hurt and pain, guys, being bullied for being too positive, people telling me I'm thick and I've got no idea about football. Listen, what it is. You know I'm resilient. You know I'm not a glory hunter. I've always stuck by my team, and I've always known that good things will come. So here we are, and I think this is the era that it will happen. You know, I think we're going to win the FA Cup this year. I think lots of good things are going to happen. So
absolutely. Well, listen, you've kept Lee quiet for a second. He just froze there in an absolute cheering moment. Lee, we'll have to see that back. That was superb. It was overwhelming in that moment. What a freeze that was on Mr. McQueen, I've got to say. Look, what we are going to do, guys, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. There's I think about 900 of you watching us live now. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Battling Live Football here. Really, really appreciate it. Guys, it is a shameless plug. This is the last time now you can really get your votes into us here. As last word on Spurs go in, that will be coming shortly. We'll be going into the FCA Football Content Awards. We have made the finals. Now is all your opportunity to help us bring that trophy home. Deadline is on Sunday. So if you've not voted for last word on Spurs in the best podcast in Premier League, what have you been doing? You can do that by going to footballcontentawards.com/voting. And for all you, I would say, keen Knowles out there that know how to use the QR code for those watching live, you can do that right now. It'll take you right to there. Give us a vote. Like I say, help us bring that trophy home. And again, it's for these lovely panelists that you see on your screen here, week in, week out, that give their views on all things Tottenham. Believe me, they'll tell you it's not, and Alex is quite lucky, he's coming at a good time. Holly and Leon will tell you, and Lee as well will tell you, it's not always been as good as this. I know I've had many Australians and Greeks getting in touch saying, we love this football club. But I've got to warn you, it doesn't always go like this in the first 7-8 games. So it is a bit of a bumpy ride. Long may it continue. What we are going to do very quickly, guys, before we come on to Luton, look, a lot has been made overall in terms of the way in which the VAR depicted the situation that we saw. Now, again, the reason why many will ask, well, why are we talking about this or discussing it is because, quite frankly, this could happen to Tottenham. This could happen to really any club. And obviously, we don't want to be in a situation where this could happen to us and we don't raise it. So Lee very kindly here is kind of giving you the kind of still images as to how these decisions came across on VAR. So we had a breakdown where essentially it was a 2-minute clip that the audio was released upon after Liverpool's demand for it, in which the PGMO decision to release the audio was meant to make the decision clearer. Now, we've got a breakdown of the incident. We have VAR, which is Darren England. We've got the VAR assistant Dan Cook and referee Simon Hooper. Now, the full official Michael Oliver and the assistant Adrian Holmes, who flagged Diaz offside. And we heard the 2 replay operators there for the VAR. Now, the first opening context to it is essentially the fact that they want to try and obviously view the incident itself as a whole. And that's why you've kind of got, for our watching audience, the kind of split screen there of course, that first clip where essentially they're looking at the incident and it says, give the kick point, let's go, kick point, please. Yeah, no worries, mate. So they're actually looking at the incident there. They're then asked to try and zoom in on the angle to essentially get a tighter view of the actual incident. So you'll note there for our watching audience there, you can see there VAR was looking at the incident. And at one point, obviously, we had a check clear. That looks perfect, mate. Essentially, where the incident was being drawn the lines on, as Lee very kindly shows us there. Check complete, check complete. That's fine, perfect. Now, the tone after that was essentially carry on, it's fine. And then, of course, it came to the decision that they've made the mistake, which in itself, we then saw a couple of seconds later, technically the chance to stop the game had been passed. We had VAR saying, I can't do anything, which then followed, of course, with that expletive, as we know, which kind of, look, we've all been there in whatever job that we do, we've made a mistake. And the fact of the matter is that it's been highlighted to the world now. So I'm sure they were pleased the fact Liverpool did request the audio. But look, for copyright reasons, we can't, of course, play out that clip. But you get the gist of course, how that period played out. And I suppose the question, guys, I want to ask, if I can start, listen, I'll start with Leon on this. I mean, Leon, the final outcome we see is the PGMO stating at the very end they're going to take a full review into the circumstances which led to the incorrect outcome, with key learnings and a revised communication protocol and clear reiteration of established best practice being implemented to mitigate the risks of occurring in the future. Leon, I want to wonder, how confident are you this will never happen again?
Not very, Ricky, is the answer. Under the current sort of guidance, I just don't see how it can't happen again, because it is human error. Hopefully, it doesn't happen often, but it is human error. And like you say, we've all messed up in our jobs, and VAR folks are only doing their job. So, I do think they need to take that really seriously and do look at the way other sports do it. I think that there's a good case to look at how rugby do it. To actually hear the conversation between the VAR and the referees. I find it fascinating. I found it fascinating when we heard the Neville and Carragher piece that they did before the season started with the VAR. I think it's really interesting, because at the minute we don't know how this stuff works, and I think that makes it worse for a fan. If you're in the stadium, you've got no idea what's going on. It's not as bad if you're at home watching it on TV, but for stadium going fans, you've got no idea what's going on, and that makes it feel like we're just being kept in the dark. So it needs to change. It really does need to change.
On that point, 𝐂𝐸 was there, of course, at the weekend. Look, for those that aren't fortunate enough to go to that stadium week in, week out, for overseas viewers, listeners, I think it's important to know that when you're in that stadium, you have absolutely no idea as to what is happening. And I think at one point, the image did go up on the screen. It was then removed and then put back on. Thoughts on, as a fan, how that is in that stadium to try and understand what is going on, bearing on the cock-up that occurred?
Yeah, it is tough because, they don't put it on the screen. I don't know if other stadiums do, but at Tottenham, they never put it on the screen when they're looking for a VAR decision. It just says VAR check, possible handball, possible penalty, for example. But they never show what actually happens. I don't know if the reason why they do that is so it doesn't influence, the fans' reactions, to see when they see what the ref sees, because then it'll put more pressure on the ref. I don't know. That could be the reason why. But yeah, listen, the guy's made a mistake. I don't think it was deliberate. I don't think it was match fixing. I don't think it was anything like that. I just think, they've made a really bad mistake. It was too late for him to go back and say, yeah, it's a goal. I think the VAR team should have been a little bit more blunt. He said VAR check complete. He didn't say complete, he's offside, he's onside, give the goal. They didn't say any of that, and that didn't help the ref. He didn't know what to do, and he just felt what was right to do when he was on the pitch. But yeah, it is a tough one. The fans don't see nothing, and maybe going forward there might be a bit more clear of showing that. But like I said, it will influence how the fans react, and that could persuade and push the ref's decision. So I think maybe for now they should just keep it off the screen, how they have been doing it right now, and hopefully the VR team, don't get it wrong again. And like I said earlier, I think this is a good thing that this has happened, because I think they will be a lot firmer and stricter when they're looking back at things, and I think they will take a lot more time and not panic and not rush, and hopefully they will get the correct decision. Everyone's saying that Brighton are in for it on the weekend against Liverpool, because they're not going to get anything if there is a VAR decision. They feel like Liverpool will get it straight away because they feel bad for what happened the other day, but I don't think that's the case. And I think they will move on with it well. And like I said, I think this is a good thing that this has happened.
Lee, I mean, the mad thing is, of course, Liverpool were the ones that demanded the audio for this, obviously, incident. And Klopp has come out and said the audio is of complete no benefit now on review of it, which is, you'd imagine, a typical Jurgen Klopp comment to make. What did you make of it, Lee? I mean, listening to it back, I mean, for those that, of course, would have watched it, listened to it, it does feel like a complete, utter state of panic. Is there anything else you could say to describe it? Because it just feels like, in that moment, a decision they knew went wrong, and they ultimately took a decision that they wouldn't and couldn't go back and try and remedy it?
I think the letter of the law situation is, there's a lot of people, even on here as well, and it's split. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, you've got to use common sense," but if you've been specifically told this is the law, by using common sense and not going to the law, you're basically breaking the law, right? So, which you cannot do. So I totally get it. And if we were Liverpool fans, I will be a bit up in arms with, you've got to use common sense. But the facts of the matter is, there's a law for a reason. Like, if you break that law one time because of common sense, then when else do you then break the law? Like, can you go again? Can you go again? Like, the line is drawn. Excuse the pun, obviously, because it's VAR. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. The law is written because that's the line, and you can't go over that line. So, look, I mean, I agree with Leon. I think there's other sports that a lot of people maybe don't watch other sports, but I drive everyone mad with it, right? Because I watch everything. And so, therefore, I'm a massive cricket fan. I'm a huge tennis fan. I'm a huge rugby fan as well, right? All of them three sports use VAR, if you want to call it VAR, video assistant referees, which is what it stands for, or 𝐂𝐻𝐻𝐿, whatever it is, brilliantly. And actually, I tweeted out earlier today, because I'm sick of hearing about the VAR thing, so I might as well just crack on with it and join in. If you can't beat them, join them. So I said, look, why don't you take it away from the incompetent officials and give it to the managers and give them a review? Like, NFL uses it as well, pretty well. Like, in cricket, you get 3 reviews, or in tennis, you get 3 reviews. The referee makes an on-field decision. As normal, they referee the game. I'm the manager. I don't agree with it. I'm going to use one of my reviews. We do the VAR. It's shown on screen, whatever. He can see, or the manager, the man or woman, depending if it's in the WSL or just in the Premier League, whatever, can see that is wrong. They lose their review, game continues. Or they can see that it's right and they've won their review. They keep their review and the decision gets overturned. So what that means is that, yes, there's some downsides to that. People will be time wasting using VAR when they don't need to use it, but it takes away from all the ambiguity around the officials. And I think it was said on Monday Night Football. We're on Thursday, we're on Wednesday, and we're still talking about from Monday Night Football as well. But I think Jamie Carragher said it on Monday Night Football about when they interviewed Mike Dean. I didn't actually see the interview about Mike Dean, but he actually said he cannot stand when he was called up to be a VAR ref, because they're having referees on field, which are specialist referees on field, going into the VAR and then refereeing from a VAR point of view, which is ridiculous. You're using technology and refereeing the game in a different way, and you're not specialist to do that. So I just think if they don't sort it out in the VAR room and in the referees at PGMOL, then give it to the managers. They'll sort it out, because they'll soon start making reviews that, no, that weren't right, I'll take a review. They'll soon stop. When they start losing all their reviews, it'll soon calm down, and they'll soon realise that actually they've only got 1 review or 3 reviews or whatever they do, and then they won't be wasting them. And then they can't have a panic. They can't have a panic after that, can they? Because they've had the opportunity to say, here's a review. I think somebody this week on Sky made a really good point. Ex-footballer made a really good point about rugby, that they're so well respected. The referees are so well respected that you won't get any bad language or back chat at rugby when they're mic'd up, which is why they can't mic up everybody on football, because you got footballers still berating the referees and stuff. So we've got a long way to learn as a game, I think, around that stuff. I actually do think VAR, and it is ironic that it is an offside decision, because I do think VAR can be good for the game. And actually, it's not the technology that's incorrect here. It's still human error. And like I said before, thousands and thousands and thousands of times people have been flagged offside when they shouldn't have been flagged offside, or goals have stood when they shouldn't have stood. And the reality is nothing's changed just because the technology's coming. But what I would say on this, and this is what I would say, just to summarize, if you bought a piece of technology for whatever it is in your life, and you bought it and it said on the box, or it said in the service level agreement that we will get 92% or 93% or 94% correct, you'd still buy the product, because that is a really good return. 94% of the time, you're going to get what you want out of this product, but it might go wrong at whatever 6%. You'd still buy it because that's a really good service level. I'd love to see what the service is. There's been 13, 14 apologies from VAR out of how many decisions made every single week on 20, 30, 50, 100 different football matches. It's got to be a success on that side. So one decision, although a catastrophic decision, it's like, you know, I don't want to go doom and gloom, but it's like accidents happening, right? It's a human error. Accidents happen. You know, it is you've got to whether or not you have technology or didn't have technology, it always happens. And that is part of the game. And you just got to move on from it. You know, it's a tough one to take. But as we've got some images here, Rick, I don't know if you want to come on to them, but as we've got some images here, we've been on the end of some horrendous decisions. You just got to get on with it, haven't you, team?
I think so.
Sorry, Ricky. No, I fully agree with you, Lee. I'm just questioning, though, whether or not VAR actually is good for the game, because I don't know about you, but whenever a goal goes in, your sort of instinct to celebrate is dampened ever since VAR became a thing, because you're sort of thinking, oh, wait a minute, what if it's, you know, offside or there was a foul in the build-up or whatever it is. And I think especially when you see those decisions where it's literally, it might be correct, but it is literally a millimetre of offside, and you sort of think no human eye would have actually been able to decide that. So it just takes this, I think it sucks the fun of football out a little bit. I think goal line technology, 100%, that needs to be used. I think VAR maybe for things like red cards and what have you. But for goals, I don't know. I think it should favour the attacker. And I think we've seen so many goals ruled out that would have been given before. And I think that for football fans, what do we want to do? We want to celebrate a goal. So I just think maybe we need to have a conversation about whether it actually.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that, Leon. But I think the only thing that I would disagree a little bit on that is offside is factual. Like, it is a factual decision. You either on or you're off. Toenail, fingernail, hair, whatever, eyebrow, you're on or you're off. The decision, the rules around how far, eyebrow, toenail, whatever, that's the rule bit, right? But the factual decision is if you are in front of the defender, you're offside, right? So we've got to sort that bit out, but that's factual. I actually disagree with the other bits in, you know, is it out for a throw? Is it a free kick? Is it a red card? Because that's subjective. That is absolutely subjective. Basuma, I don't think anyone's going to tell me that Basuma's challenge wasn't a red card. But Gary Neville will tell you it wasn't a red card. The referee on field at the time will tell you that it's not a red card. So there's a problem for me. So I think VAR is good for the game if it's factual decision. It's not subjective. It has to be an objective decision. Goal line technology is a perfect example of that. Because if the ball's over the line, it's a goal. If it ain't over the line, it ain't a goal. If you're offside, you're offside. If you're not, you're not. Red card, not quite sure. I don't know. What do you think? And that's the problem. And here's the thing as well about that. He gets a red card that was given on field as a yellow. So it gets overturned and gets a red. Then he goes to an appeal. And then somebody in the appeal watches the video and goes, oh, actually, yeah, I think that might be a yellow. I know it didn't get overturned, but that's the process. So you've had 3 people look at that and all decide it's either a red or a yellow. Do you see where I'm coming from? So I think factual decisions, but not subjective. Holly, sorry, do you want to come in now?
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I was gonna say on that. I think there's a balance to be had, because when I know the decisions were rushed on Saturday, and we said then they rushed without clearly knowing, you know, that the goal was onside. But also there are times, like with what Leon has just said, and which this is what the stance I always have, you know, that it takes the fun out of football. You can't always celebrate freely as you would with your fan base and have that sheer joy of football. You know, what we all wait for, that moment that goal goes in, that football goes in the net and it's a goal. You know, that's pure delight. You throw your arms up in the air. That's what we all watch football for. But there are times when the decision gets made too fast. Clearly the wrong decision gets made. But then there are also times when they mull it over too much. Time's ticking on and you're thinking, this is ridiculous. If you've got to look at it for that long, then give the goal. Because if it's really that hard to pick apart it should just go ahead and go like it would have done in the old days, because that then you're really clutching at straws, and you're really pulling it apart, and it just gets too much. And
also
that's when it takes the fun. So there's a balance that needs to be had. I don't know whether there's a time limit that they should have that really gives them kind of enough time to make a clear decision, so that they're not rushing it, but yet they're not kind of taking the mick. I don't know, really. But the fact is that winds me up is there's no consistency. It's like I just saw on Twitter just then, Newcastle are flying tonight, but apparently their second goal was a clear handball. Obviously, I've not watched it, so I can't say what my opinion on that is. But again, if that is the case, mistakes are still happening. So you're having a case of, when will we learn? When are things going to change? There are times when I watch games of teams I don't even like, and I think, oh, that was clearly offside, or that was clearly onside, or that was a clear red card, or whatever, and it makes no sense. The problem is there is no consistency, and I think ultimately that is down to the human error. Go back to like what the World Cup was like last winter. VAR I thought was pretty decent then. So it's like, how do we move forward? Sorry, Ricky.
I totally agree on that, Holes. I mean, just to let you come back on this as well. I mean, one of the things that you've said there is spot on. The fact that there maybe needs to be some form of time limit on it before I bring Al in. Do you also think, Hole, very quickly to get your point on this, that many are picking up the fact of where the actual image review starts from? I mean, I think many are picking up on the point at the moment that essentially with the Basuma incident, the referee's first look is actually the challenge rather than the actual build-up to the incident itself. I mean, is your view that the referee, I think Jamie Carragher was saying that, when you slow something down, it looks a lot worse, whereas you should see it actually in real time. Do you have a view on that as well? Because that's, again, another subject that, again, has been very much kind of talked about.
Yeah, I think not to be diplomatic, but I think it's both of those things. They need to see it in real time, and then they need to see it slowed down, because if you're just seeing it slowed down, agree, things can look worse than they are. But also, if you watch things just in real time and don't slow it down, you can often miss where the error was made or where the pivotal moment was. So I think you need to see it in both forms and kind of weigh it up, because there are times when maybe someone, like, I don't know, kick someone or something like really quickly and you don't see it and it's a red card, or you don't see it because it's like you're watching it in real time and it was so fast that it happened and it gets missed. But if you watch it slowed down, you see it. And then there are other times where it's slowed down too much and it looks like someone's committed murder, and it's like, it's really not that bad, it looks worse than it is. So you need to, you're completely right, Rebecca. The same thing did happen, but it's a case of, if you're slowing something down, things can look more dramatic. Why do you think they do it in TV programs when they slow stuff down? It starts a little bit of drama. So I think it is a case of a combination. We're watching it in real time, but often when you're watching things in real time and you're watching 22 people on a pitch and a referee or whatever, we don't witness everything. So how's the bloke that's following after all these men going to witness everything? It really is ultimately down to the people that are in their nan's cupboard or wherever it is they watch VAR. But I think it is a combination of those things. The whole point of VAR as well is they see it from every angle. So that's the thing where there really shouldn't be any excuses, because they have got the bird's eye view of everything. Because we are, if you're there watching the game, you can't see everything. You're just seeing all these tiny little men running around. At home, we get a better view because we get more angles, but they get it all close up. That's the whole point. It's the analysis, the full analysis.
I mean, also, Al, just to finish on this topic as well, many will not like me saying this, but referees, we haven't got a huge amount of high quality ones in this country. I think, again, there's the couple that, again, mentioned the fact that we, again, there is a concern we might be losing some of these referees to Saudi. Are you also worried, Al, maybe not personally about it, but the fact that they could be essentially, you'd say, how do I put this in the most politest way? That, again, they might have a generous offer to go to Saudi. We could be losing some really top referees here that essentially could be bullied out of the country or out of the game by the fact of just how, I've got to say, the Premier League is, for me, the most passionate league, I feel, in the world. Look, we're Spurs fans. We're exposed to it week in, week out. Is that an overall concern for you, Al, that the quality could get even worse? Because, again, when you speak and hear about other fans in other countries, Italy, they feel referee standard is so different to the Premier League. Is that an overall concern before we move on?
Yeah, it is a concern that you will lose your top referees to other leagues. You don't blame them for going to Saudi, because obviously money talks, and they want to better their life and their family's life, so you can't blame them for that. But I think in general, referees have got such a tough job, and I do feel bad for some of them. It's not an easy job. You've got 60,000 fans at Tottenham, screaming their heads off to try and get a decision their way. Then you've got the VAR, and then you mess up on VAR. But just before we move on VAR is good. It is good. We need it. It is good because it can overturn things that have been wrong, like Bissouma, the Curtis Jones. He gave a yellow, and it was a clear red. And thank God we had VAR to intervene and change that decision. But VAR is good, but it's the dummies that are behind it that are running it. And I think a good way going forward to prevent these things happening again, I think it would be good if we have an experienced, retired Premier League footballer in the VAR studios at Stockley Park, just at least one of them for each game being used, who have been through it, played at the highest level, know what it's like, reads the game well. And yeah, I think that could be beneficial, having someone who's played at the highest level in the Premier League behind the VAR panel to help their colleagues to pull off the right decision. I think that would be good. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah, listen, I think, again, along with that, I think the fact of the matter is that, as we've seen from this incident, the worry is that this might not be the first, it might not be the last, it might be one of many. So whatever happens, there does need to be, you feel, significant thought given to how we try, as we all say, move this on. Again, I know there's a big debate, as obviously the fact we've seen here is it Lee shared his image on the screen. Spurs did 𝐂𝐤𝐿𝐼 only from last year, and Klopp told Ryan Mason not to worry about it. The same Ryan Mason that unfortunately saw his career come to an end due to a head injury, which, again, when you go through the injustice for Tottenham, should we be demanding the fact the Champions League final should be replayed? Of course, the 𝐂𝐨𝐬𝐿 handball incident. There's been many where the goes go as well. We can't forget as well the Roy Carroll, of course, incident as well. You go all those years back to Manchester United away. There's been just so many of injustices from a Tottenham perspective that you do feel, my God, listen, we've had our fair share. So what we are going to do, we are going to go.
Just quickly, Rick, on that ghost goal there. Sorry, listeners, you won't be able to see this, but we're showing it's the Chelsea semi-final, right, where Frank Lampard didn't score. And we look at this image a foot away from the line, and that was given as a goal. I mean, literally, that is absolutely ridiculous. And it was an FA Cup semi-final. If that don't go in, we might go on to get the final, and our trophy drought might end. And should we get that replayed? I mean, to Leon's point earlier, that is goal line technology. Do you get what I mean? Like, that is a factual decision that didn't go over the line, and yeah, it still was given as a goal. I mean, do you remember the England-Germany one? Back in the day, it was Frank Lampard that scored. It was about a foot over the line. The referee didn't give it. And ultimately, we go out of the World Cup. I mean, it's just, there's Thierry Henry handball, like against Ireland for France. I mean, how far do you go with this? It's part of the game, isn't it? It's part of football, and it's time to put it to bed and move on, in my opinion.
Absolutely. What we are going to do, for all of our sakes, we are going to move on from VAR for another week for now. We are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. Tell you that break, you're going to hear from the nominated Luton Town podcast, Oh When the Town podcast. They give us their thoughts ahead of Luton Town to come at the weekend for this Saturday. And then for our watching audience here, we've got a good over 900 to 1,000 of you watching us live. Again, thank you so much for all your incredible support. We're joined by Lee McQueen, Holly Clemens, Leon Emiralli, and Alex making his debut tonight on this last one on Spurs as we build up to Tottenham taking on Luton at the weekend. Now, again, look, I'm not going to go back on that subject of the 3 letters, but there has been some Spurs news that, again, it's been a bit of a disappointing week in terms of injury news to bring to you an update on. Firstly, Manor Solomon. Now, up until what it was Wednesday afternoon, he was part of the Spurs squad ahead of this game against Luton Town. But unfortunately, that is no more. As we understand, he has suffered meniscus injury in training, and he's set to undergo surgery, as we understand, on the Friday, which will result in him being out for a minimum of 2 to 3 months. There's also a separate problem linked to the player's groin, so it is one to keep an eye on. And again, just in couple with that as well, Brennan Johnson definitively out of this fixture. He was a doubt heading into it, and he has now not been called up for Wales' upcoming international game. So Spurs ordered without a couple of forward options, wingers for the game, and Heung-min Son deployed by Postecoglou in last week's game as a forward. There is concerns over the way his workload is being managed. So look, by the fact that we've only got 1 game a week, you've heard me moan and be angry about Spurs' lack of their carry on in the Carabao Cup. maybe it's not the most awful thing as well. The fact that Spurs do only have that one game a week, but Heung-min Son's fitness, one to keep an eye on. We are, of course, recording here just an evening after Luton were defeated at home to Burnley by 2-1. And look, I think, again, as Spurs fans, we all head into this fixture with a little bit, I'd say, of trepidation, despite the fact we are unbeaten after 7 games. Spurs have the opportunity, of course, to go top of the Premier League momentarily. Al, I'll start with you. Look, big game for Tottenham. We come off the back of, obviously, 4 points out of a possible 6 from Arsenal and Liverpool. Many would say this is arguably one of the worst fixtures to head into because of the nature of the fact that maybe overconfidence could play a factor. How confident are you under Ange that he will get these boys back down to earth by the fact that, look, it is one of those dreaded 12:30 games, which I know Lee will hate me for saying it because mentality shouldn't be it's a 12:30. We should not be thinking about the fact it's 12:30. Your thoughts on it being 12:30 and your thoughts on it being Luton Town away?
Yeah, listen, no one likes the early kickoff. It is a bit of a touchy one, and Luton as well, newly promoted team, we're away from home, early kickoff. Yeah, those things come into play and you do get a bit worried, and you know what Spurs are like. But we're on such a good high, we're on a great run. We're unbeaten, as you said. 6 points, 6 points from 2, Arsenal, Liverpool is amazing. No one would have thought that, and I'm absolutely buzzing with that. Also, there isn't going to be Tim Krul starting, which is our bogey goalkeeper to play against. I thought he was playing for them, but I looked at their lineups recently, and they've been starting someone else. I don't know who his name is, but that is great news for us because we all know how good Tim Krul has been playing against Spurs in former performances for Norwich and Newcastle. He has made a lot of saves that have stopped us from getting the 3 points. So that's a good positive. That's a good plus. But overall, I'm still confident that we can beat them. Burnley went there and won 2-1 last night. So, yeah, I mean, if Burnley can win there, it's embarrassing if Spurs don't on the high that we are right now. There are obviously a couple of concerns with Son and Maddison, if they're going to be 100% fit or not. Some people on Twitter were saying that maybe it would be sensible to rest both of them to prevent, a long-term injury to them and maybe start release striker for Son and Richie out on the left and keep Cooley on the right. I mean, that could be an option, but I can't see it happening. And unfortunately, Son and Maddison both will go on the international break, and Son is career's captain, so he's going to go nevertheless. And Southgate, he likes the look of Maddison, and he's using him a lot more now, as he deserves. But yeah, I don't think there will be a stumbling block for us this Saturday. I think normal service will resume. We will win. Hopefully, we can take the lead early on, so then we can take players off like Son and Maddison and give them the break that they need and risk injury. But yeah, I don't think it will be a problem. But it is a lot easier playing against teams like Arsenal and Liverpool with a high line who bring it to you. We do tend to struggle against the low block quite often. Like you have seen that against Sheffield United at home this season. So hopefully that doesn't come into play, and hopefully we can do enough to get over the line and bring the 3 points home.
It's interesting.
Sorry to be unprofessional, Rick, but just I took a phone call in when you were chatting. So sorry to be. It was Rob Edwards, the manager of Luton Town. He just told me that they're playing Tim Krul at the weekend.
Wouldn't surprise me.
We're going to have a bogey goalkeeper against us, Alex. Just to ruin all of our moves.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me the week we've had. It wouldn't. I mean, Holes, if I can bring you in. Look, Spurs, we sit only a single point behind Man City, and we know Spurs will move to the top of the Premier League, provided they do beat Luton Town in that early kickoff, with obviously Guardiola's Man City travelling to Arsenal on the following day. There is a possibility, a distinct one, that Spurs could go in to that second international break of the season, top of the league, if results go our way. So I want to get your thoughts, Holes. In terms of the game itself, how do you feel? 12:30, does that worry you? Does that scare you at all by the fact of that time, who we're playing opposition-wise?
Listen, Ricky, I'm going to be at bottomless brunch then, babe. I'm not worried about it. No, I'm joking. I'm not joking. I will be at bottomless brunch. I'm on my way to London this weekend, and I'm not going for the football. I am sad about this. But it's my friend's birthday. What can you do? Hopefully, however it goes, I'll be a few margaritas deep into the day, and whatever, it won't hurt or it'll add to the joy. But I think we should know by now. And you mentioned earlier on, you're not proper Spurs unless you are still concerned about these fixtures, because as Alex just said, we do have a habit of kind of losing to the underdogs. I'll never forget the couple of seasons ago when we did the double on Man City and then lost to Burnley, who got relegated at the end of the season. So prime example of why you shouldn't get too cocky. We know that every point counts, every goal counts in this tournament. I hope that Ange has learned his lesson and won't make too many changes like he did in the Carabao Cup game. Because I know he said he needs to understand how all the players work, and in order to do that he needs to watch them play. But yeah, it's not, we need to retain our position, if not move forward. We need to keep pushing, we need to keep this momentum going. And yes, the injuries are a concern, but my main concern, of course, is going to be Sonny. He's got this groin injury. I'm hoping he's staying celibate throughout this period, and I hope that he's behaving himself, because we need him for the rest of the season and we need him to keep going. So I think he's the one I would be very, very concerned if he wasn't there. I think as long as I can see that Maddison, Rishi, Sonny link up again this weekend, I'll be very happy, because that was some beautiful football.
It was indeed. Hold fire. We're going to come back around to you with your prediction shortly. I think I know what's coming out of Hull's mouth for sure on that. Leon, coming around to you. I got flashbacks then as Holly was mentioning Burnley. I'm sure you did as well on the back of that Man City win. No, it's one of those games that, quite frankly, look, it's one of those games that you would not be worried unless you're a Spurs fan, right? Because there's a really good opportunity for Tottenham to go in the ascendancy, go top of the league and not worry about other results. I think, again, many fans will say these are the ones that really are more of a true test of character rather than, dare I say, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, because these are the games Spurs are expected to win. Yeah. And again, with the time being the time, which again, I know many overseas viewers and listeners might not really may not understand why that is such a big focus point. But I think someone did put in the comments that 12-30 games in the Premier League are a little bit of a passion killer. I have to say that, the crowd are not always as vibrant as what they would be at a 4 p.m. or, a 3:30 on a Sunday. That just is the way that football works in the Premier League. And sometimes subdued crowds can make a difference. We know that stadium isn't the biggest in terms of attendance. And I think the great thing is what you're going to get for those Spurs fans that are going there. You're going to get the most hardcore, I will say, of our fan base that are going to be constantly singing throughout the game, and the boys will be able to hear them loud and clear. So I haven't got a concern. I think we're going to hear our fans. We've heard them all season, home and away. We've got, for me, the best away support, not only in the country, but worldwide as Spurs fans. So I'm really intrigued to know how you feel going into this one. But the fact as well, we have picked up a couple of really difficult injuries for the squad this week. Solomon being one, of course, Brennan Johnson being the other. Does that concern you going into this one?
It does a little bit, and I should say I was born in Luton. The stadium's only about half an hour drive away from where I am, so I've got a soft spot for Luton. I want them to do well, but just not on Saturday. But I am a little bit worried, because I think that the team are going to be up for it. We are effectively the biggest team they've played this season. I'm not counting Chelsea, because we're bigger than them. So we're going to be the biggest game they've had. This is exactly the type of game that their fans are going to want to be part of in the Premier League. So I think their fans are going to be up for it as well, regardless of the half 12. So it's going to be a tough place to go. Exactly as Alex says, we don't do terribly well with teams that defend on a low block. And I think, given where Sonny is, and given he has got a bit of an injury and the way he plays on the sort of on the shoulder and the pace that he's getting in behind, maybe he should be rested and swapped for 𝐂𝐸𝐿𝐸 this game. I'm not sure that will happen. I think if Solomon was around or whatever, you'd play Rishi up top, and then you'd put Johnson or Solomon on the wing. I do think it's not going to be a sort of a game that's tailor made for the way we play. So am I a bit worried? Yes, but that is only because I am a Spurs fan, and that just comes with the territory, doesn't it? But I do think it's a really good opportunity for us, and to go into the second international break top of the league would be huge for us, just as a kind of mentality thing. But I am worried. I think the squad's thin. And we're seeing some of those injuries starting to mount, and you get one or two more, and suddenly we're down to bare bones, as we've spoken about the defence. The options that aren't the second choice options beyond Romero and Van de Ven are not good. So that looks a bit tricky. But let's get to January. Let's hope that Levy makes couple of good signings, and there's no reason why we can't have a really, really good season. We can win the league, we can win the FA Cup, but we do need to be lucky, and we need to get those signings right. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I think it's not going to be an easy game. I don't think it'll be an easy game at Luton, but I'm hopeful that we can come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, mate, how many games have we done like this, right? These kind of games where we go into them with full confidence and belief that we've got a squad to compete. We've got players that can compete. Look, it has been, I've got to say, a difficult week on the injury front. I mean, you would have assumed Manor Solomon would have probably been the natural choice to have come in on that side where, of course, Brennan Johnson would have been out. And therefore, really, to not have that option. Bryan Hill is one of a player that has been spoken about. Again, there's high hopes from, as Al said earlier, someone that maybe could flourish under Ange. I just wonder, Lee, how much this is now a dilemma for Ange going into the game, where this really does change up his thinking for it.
Yeah, I think if you want, no one wants injuries, right? No one wants injuries, and we definitely do not want them in defence, because then we're Dyer and Davis. But I think if there's a position that you would be able to stomach injuries in, is actually this position. Because if you think about it, you got Bryan Hill that's coming back. Everyone said about Bryan Hill coming back. You got Santiago, who's playing absolutely outstanding for the academy at the moment, and actually, based on Ange Postecoglou, his philosophy, the way we're playing football, it's not throwing him into the lions. He's actually coming in and probably could play well. You've got Valise, as Leon, you've just talked about there, putting him up top and having Richie come in from the left. And Richie done well against Liverpool, obviously, there the other day. And you've also got Jamie Donnelly as well that could come in and make that part of that as well. So I think we have got some options there that is not in them bare bones. So I think that I'm not overly concerned, if I'm honest. So I think that I am concerned about Son, because he had some massive strapping on his leg, on his right arm with his thigh. I think it's a groin problem against Arsenal that not many people saw. But if you watch the uncut version of the game that Spurs put out there, he pulled his shorts up and he had some serious heavy strapping. So he's been carrying that knock since at least before the Arsenal game. And I do agree with Alex. We do suffer with low block. And Rick and I, how many times is your bingo card people last one on Spurs, your lock picker? How many times did we get need a lock picker? You said it week after week after week. We've got one now, and we're still finding it difficult to break down them low block teams. Look, the reality is that we did it. I remember, and I've used this example so many times. I remember sitting in the South Stand. Most people had gone home. This was against Brighton. At home when Christian Eriksen was still playing under Poch, 0-0. I think it was 93rd minute, and then the lock picker himself picks a lock and he actually scores, and we end up winning the game. So late goals are a trait for, dare I say it, I can't say it. Late goals are a trait for good teams. Let's put it that way. So let's not be embarrassed about late goals, but we do suffer against the low block. However, people, I'm not going on the neg whatsoever here. I'm going on the pos, because that's it. That's who I'm at. I'm with Alex in terms of all of us as well. Luton are shocking. Let's be absolutely honest about it. They're not a very good side at all. People talking them up in the middle. Oh, they've done all right. No, they haven't. They shipped 4 against Brighton. They shipped 3 against Chelsea. They had 5 shots on target against them against Everton. That's the only win. They only had 2 shots on target themselves, and they beat Everton. If they give us 70% possession, which they gave away to Everton, if they give us that on Saturday and give us 5, 6, 7 shots on target, we're going to turn them over 100%. I'm fully confident in that as well. So it's not about having egg on your face and whatever. It's about believing and being confident. I said before the Liverpool game, I put a piece out on social media, which ends up being out in the universe, saying, look, it's about time. It's about time we started believing again. It's about time we play our football. We play the way that we want to play, as the song goes. We play the Ange Ball way. We'll win this football match. And what you could say is there is anomalies. We've seen it last week, Wolves versus Manchester City. You can absolutely see that. And if you lose a football match, you lose a football match. There will be bumps in the road. Maybe this might be one of them, but I can't see it, Rick, at all. I think the amount of possession that we have, the shots that we create now, the chances that we're creating, I just can't see anything other than a win. And what I would say about the 12:30 kickoffs, Leeds away, 4-0 Tottenham. Aston Villa away, early kickoff, 4-0 Tottenham. I think we had an Everton early kickoff, 5-0 or 5-1. It's a myth. It's a perception is reality. perception is reality with VAR. Perception is reality of how we manifest stuff. And my perception is that we're going to smash Luton, and that's going to become the reality.
What's the scoreline going to be? What's the scoreline going to be, Lee? What are you going to go
for? 2-0 Luton. No, I'm gonna go for. I think we'll keep a clean sheet this one. I'm actually gonna go 4-0 Tottenham. So
okay,
sorry,
mate.
but I am big. I think we're gonna do them up.
Well, let's hope that you're back with me on Saturday night and we are reviewing a 4-0 win and Spurs being top of the league. Fingers crossed.
You can all batter me if I'm totally wrong, of course. I'm rubbish at predictions. I never get them right. I predicted the 2-2 actually with the Arsenal, but yeah, I'm not very good at predictions. Pinch of salt in it. Let's just go out, play our football, enjoy ourselves, and win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Macca, always a pleasure. Hull, come around to you. Luton do sit 17th in the Premier League. They are 13 points behind Spurs. They've managed just one win of their first 7 Premier League games. So I've really put it up here for an interesting prediction for you. What are you going to give us? What are you going to go for?
Listen, usually I give the highest prediction of the group. I'm the one that gets too excited. However, I'm going to stick with my prediction from the start, which was 3-0. So it was in a 3-0 Spurs. So Lee tops me today with his prediction, but either way, great results. Clean sheet is the main thing. And yeah, if anyone is going to watch the game, please come back on here and tell me what the away end was like and going in through people's back gardens, because I never get bored of that. I never get bored of hearing about it. I love it.
Holes, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We're going to be back with us very, very soon. Leon, let's come out of you, mate. Look, they picked up their first ever Premier League victory last weekend. Many would probably say that's a good thing, the fact that they've got that off their backs. 2-1 win against Everton. I think they've shown in that game that they are fairly decent from set pieces. Have to say that, but they were brought crashing back down to earth on Tuesday. They suffered that defeat to Burnley. They actually racked up 18 shots on their home soil. So, again, I don't think it's going to be an easy game, this one. I think it will be quite scrappy. I think I agree with Alex where there'll be an element of their Spurs will have to break them down. How do you see this pan out for you, Leon?
Yeah, I think exactly that. I reckon I think we're going to win 2-0, but I think it's going to be quite cagey 2-0. I think we'll probably get a goal late on, or maybe 2 goals late on. But yeah, I agree there. I think it will be a cagey 2-0. We didn't look great against Liverpool when they went down to 9. Yeah. We didn't look great, and I'm just wondering that it's going to be a similar style of football that Luton deploys. So I'm just hopeful that we get lucky, perhaps penalties, own goals, VAR decisions that go our way. Who knows? But I think we're going to win. I think it's 3 points, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Leon, always a pleasure, mate. We look forward to having you back on where hopefully this spirit is still going. I've got to say that again. I mean, it's lovely having, like I say, guests back on when it is such a good time at the moment. And what a time we're having your debut at the moment, Al. Coming around to you. As I've said, 1 win they've recorded Luton, 1 draw, 5 losses for Robert Edwards' side. On top of that, they've only one of 3 teams that have scored the fewest goals this season, while only the bottom 3 have conceded more than them. We understand that Conga, Osho, Potts, Clark and Bell are the main concerns for Luton this weekend. Al, how do you see it plan out?
Listen, I can't see anything other than the Spurs win. We've got to be winning games like this if you want to be finishing in the top 4 or even challenging for the title. These are the games you've got to win, the nitty-gritty ones, the early kickoffs, the newly promoted teams. I don't think Luton will give us too many problems. We are very fortunate to have a solid back line this season. Porro, Romero, Van der Ven and Udogie have been absolutely solid this season. They are our spine, and we really need to keep them fit this season, because if we do, I think we can go places. It's a very strong back line. So I think I can't see Luton scoring. I really can't with those 4 at the back. I really can't see them scoring. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Spurs win. I'm going to push the boat out and say who I think is going to score. I think Mads will get in a score sheet for this one, and I think Son will get another one. But yeah, I can't see Luton scoring. Hopefully we get a clean sheet, and hopefully we don't struggle too much. But I don't think it will be that much of a struggle, and it will be so good to get 3 points just before the international break as well. And I think this international break has come at the perfect time for Spurs. Because we have picked up a couple injuries recently, so get these 3 points over the line. Maybe be top of the league if City and Arsenal draw, and but that is the perfect way to go into the current international break. And when we come back, we're at home for Fulham at home on Monday night, so that's a great way to get back in there. Our next 4 games, I think, is Luton, Fulham, Palace, and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Right now, I can't see us losing the game. I really can't. I couldn't tell you. No, I'm being honest. I couldn't see what game will slip up in.
So lovely, isn't it, Alex? It's
Yeah,
so nice.
out of those
nice.
four, I think Crystal Palace away is the toughest one. I really do.
Who even
Probably
are
not.
Chelsea anymore?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Mid-table team. Not
We're
even
going to
us.
absolutely batter Chelsea, and I can't wait for that fixture. And hopefully, Pochettino is still in charge by the time they come to the lane as well.
I'm convinced of it. I'm convinced that he's
Do you know
gone
what?
before the home game.
I feel bad that I got to send the ship here. We've still got one game at a time. We've still got to keep our calm. I think, again, Luton this weekend, get through that. I think many fans will start maybe believing there's a real special season in store. Been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for making your debut. Been an absolute stormer. You can check him out, Mr. Alex THFC on the socials. Lee,
Rick, just quickly, what's your prediction, mate? Don't you get away with this
I
one, son.
thought we were going to get out of it there. I I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. I don't think it's going to be easy. I do think, again...
Ricky, you've been talking Costa. If you had Costa on the WhatsApp,
I've had
you've been talking.
You know what it's like. You can't, bring it back down to earth. Bring us back down to earth. Again, I will say these kind of games, these are the ones that actually worry me more than the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Cities and the Chelseas, because these games you're expected to win. And again, I do worry that the squad that we've got at the moment, we are looking slightly light in some areas that, look, I think, again, we need Hill to come in and really hit the ground running under Ange. And that's a good opportunity for him as well. Great opportunity for him to come in under an attacking manager.
He might. I think he might.
I think he will do absolutely phenomenal under Ange. I think he's the perfect manager to get Hill playing. I really do. I think he could be a hidden gem for us this season.
Yeah, it might just be the right time for the player as well, because again, you might argue that Eddie coming at another point, he may not have had an opportunity to get regular game time. Now you've got to say Johnson, one to keep an eye on, of course, and how that progresses. But Solomon now being out for a sustained period, you may feel that, of course, Hill will get those opportunities. So we shall wait. We shall see. We've been joined by the wonderful Lee McQueen, Holly Clemens, Leon Emiralli, and Alex THFC on this last word on Spurs. Guys, thank you so much for all your incredible support, your love. We are back with you for a reaction to hopefully Spurs being top of the Premier League. From all of us here, guys, please keep safe, keep well, and as always,